Okay, let's get to the big issue up the top, and that's the bunker. We've seen, look, people can say what they want, and people can go all over the shop. I know I've been critical of the bunker before, but we are seeing some inconsistency week in, week out. And if you were a Tigers fan last week, you're scratching your head when Appy's try was disallowed. Yep. We then saw Philip Sami's try, and even Philip Sami was laughing after they awarded it a try.
He just got a new contract with the Harlem Globetrotters.
That was unbelievable. The Titans strip at the back end of the game on the last play, another howler. And then when we go up to Townsville, Felice Kafusi attempting a tackle, his head nowhere near the ball, in no contact with the ball. Val Holmes tries to pass it, deemed a knock on. Boys, I'm going to hand it over to you.
You're missing Aiden Caesar, a clear hip drop.
Yeah.
And the bunker decide it's a penalty sufficient.
That's
how
right. He should have gone to the bin
did
as
he
well.
stay on the field? This is so frustrating. People in the media, we don't want to be talking about the bunker.
No.
We don't want to have to address this. But we're all passionate about the game, and we know how hard those players and those teams and those coaches work. We know how much it means to the fans. But when you
they
can't,
work hard in the bunker too.
But Gordy, when you can't,
is the inconsistency?
But see, so like, and I've been talking about it all morning over breakfast, right? And the only way to get consistency is if the same bloke does it for every game.
Yeah, well, that's not how it rolls.
Because we
at the
all have
moment.
different opinions, right? Because there's blokes that have played the game, and I heard you, James, and it's one of the best quotes. I actually nearly spilt my red wine and my block and grapple when you said, obviously the bloke in the bunker's never played a game of rugby league. And like when they said that he played at the footy, I'm sitting there and I'm blowing up at the television because of the Titans, right? But unless I'm in there every time making the same decisions, that's the only way you're going to get consistency. Is there someone out there that can sit and cover all 8 games and be up to it? Well, because then if he's making the decisions and he watches it, that is the closest we will get, even though that everybody will make mistakes, but the closest we will get to consistency is that.
You raise a very valid point, Gordon, and I think this was a question I was going to hit you with, Jimmy, is the reason for the inconsistency is we just looked it up. There's a different referee in the bunker for every single game each
and every
weekend.
referee has always
it's
refereed
not the same
differently.
ref. So,
and through my career, everybody refereed different. So how are we going to get it to be exactly the same unless we put a robot in there?
Well, this is what Jimmy Graham said 50 years. He said last year. You said in 50 years' time, the only acceptable thing will be that a robot referees. Well, I don't think we need to go down that road. That was one of your comments last year, and I understand what you're saying.
We need a robot host too.
No, we don't. We don't need any robot host. Can I just say this now before, James, I'm going to get to you, but human error is always going to be a thing, whether or not referees. So we all get...
We all make mistakes, but that's why there's rubbers
mistakes
on the end of pencils, right? Yeah. But we got to narrow the gap, because when you're a privately owned club like South Sydney, you need to win. You need those points, because that creates, like, there's 14,000 at the game. If they started winning those last 3 games, the Titans, there might have been 18,000 or 20,000. It does hurt your club when you don't get the W's, right? For a big club that's got a clubhouse behind it, they don't really care. They can sit there and they can, bag the referee and pay the 10,000. But for the game to be consistent, I don't know it, because we put players in there and I didn't know the rule book. I played the game for a long time. I didn't know every rule. James, did you know every rule?
No.
Right? So, but there's got to be a better system where we're just more consistent. We are going to make mistakes, but with the Howlers, we got to get them out of the game. And then how did that last play when they said that Jojo Fafita was playing at the ball?
Stripping the ball.
And he goes around, and his hand then ends up getting him on the leg.
Gordon, there's not a person on the planet that thinks that that's a strip. It's either a knock-on or a loose carry.
Well, someone on the planet did.
Well, yeah.
Someone on the planet
they happened to be in a bunker, but they were out of their minds. Look, I agree with you. Human beings will make mistakes, and we acknowledge that. That's why we have the bunker review. And we have the captain's challenge, because we acknowledge the fact that, the 4 officials in charge of the game with the touch judges, the 3 officials in charge of the game, they will make mistakes. So in order to limit the number of mistakes, and we do get obsessed with getting every decision correct, we bring in a bunker. So you can watch back and look back and then have other angles to make better decisions. But there were some decisions made this weekend that were just wrong. When you've got that level of technology available,
Yep.
you can't afford to make these decisions wrong. This is a big industry. This is a huge game. If those type of resources are available to help you and assist you making the decisions, then is it a credibility issue in terms of making the decision?
The biggest game in the world, I think, is NFL, right?
Yeah.
Would there be a case where our referees walk over to a monitor, the bloke out there in the middle that's made all the decisions, that's watched it with his own eyes, goes back and has hindsight? He walks over, looks at the screen and reviews it himself. Do you think that would be a better system?
No, because I think our game's too quick, Gordon, and we need to keep the flow. I think that slows down the decision-making process. NFL is a bit more measured with how they play the game. Fatigue isn't as big an issue. I think for me, the people in the bunker just need to make better decisions. I've got no problem with us having a bunker. I think it adds to the game. It gets more decisions right than it does wrong.
Yes.
But on some of the 50-50s, that's okay when they create debate.
50-50s are
when
okay.
they create debate, and I've got my Bulldogs glasses on, and you've got your Titans glasses on, and you're like, well, I sort of favour this, and Hoops will be with the Tigers, Dobbos with about 8 different clubs, so we don't know.
Well, like the thing
what
that
he
got me
thinks.
was when Cameron Munster, right, makes a play, gets hit, and you see him fall back, and it was a great play.
Yeah.
The bloke on the inside gets the AJ Brimson to make the tackle.
Well, that was for me.
Give me a break there.
Well,
yeah.
So I think that's a try because I'm sitting there with my Titans eye.
yeah.
The Melbourne Storm player goes, they denied him the opportunity. So I see that as a fit, but I think that's more.
By the letter of the law, that I agree with you,
Did
Gordon.
Cameron Munster milk it?
No.
Is he smart enough to
He's
go and
smart
get
enough to know the rules to get the
He
interpretation.
was smart enough to go in there and take the collision and fall over, then go to make the tackle on AJ. And that's where our game's got to, where one of the smartest players in our game, playing his 200th, goes in there and goes, I'm going to get a penalty here. No matter what play they put on, I'm saving this.
Well, he's stopping a try. That's what he's doing. And some people stop
But he
tries.
didn't make a tackle stopping the try.
Exactly. But some people make those
That's what I
desperate
don't like.
tackles to
I sat
stop
there,
tries. But
and then
some
that's
people,
the part that I didn't like.
they use the rules to their advantage. And that incident, Gordy, like we're having now, that creates debate because and plenty of people would be with you. Plenty of people would be on the. It was a smart decision.
Cameron Munster did what
he should
people
do.
that don't think that they could shut down the play would do. But if you're confident in making the play, I wouldn't do that play myself because I didn't want to put it in somebody else's hands. He put it in the referee's hands.
There is a point there.
And that's when I would wish to go, no, Cameron, we showed you on slow mo, go, and fall back, right? No, you were taking the piss. You were taking the mickey out of us right now. And the bloke on the inside got to him, so no.
I will talk about this that Gordon raised earlier, and I don't want to be in any way saying this should be going this way, but the privately owned clubs, like the Titans, like the Rabbitohs,
Like Melbourne Storm.
Melbourne
like all
Storm,
the-
the howler of a decision, that the ramifications financially, which Gordon brought up, from a decision, and we can go back against the Canberra game, Chase was offside. It should never have been in Golden Point. But beside
The
that,
Gold Coast kicked the field goal and the bloke was offside, so there was another win.
There's another one.
So we could be on 6 or 8 points,
Okay,
right? So we're in the fight.
Yes,
we're
but
not
this
in
is
the
the
fight
thing.
anymore. We don't even have a ticket at the
at
table.
what point does the ownership say, hang on, we're entrusting you with the game. You've got the referee. You employ the referees. So you are unfit to run that game. You are getting it wrong. That is having a financial cost. In any other business world, companies sue. I
can't
know
remember
this is,
the last referee to get dropped.
Oh, no,
well, they are.
have
They're
been, Gordy.
rotating every week at the moment. They
I
are
know, but I don't
rotating them.
Why? Well, why are you rotating them? The best 8 referees or 10 referees should be out there every game, ready to go. The best, are there, and you don't rotate them. If you're not good enough, you don't rotate your best 13 players.
Well, they're doing that at the moment for whatever reason.
It's not referees. It's the referees. I think we can all admit, we're happy for them to make mistakes. We acknowledge the fact
I get that.
There's a
They make a
million
lot of
things going
decisions,
on.
yeah.
We did this training course when we were playing. The referees came in and presented to us. There was a tackle situation. The ball is lost, and you have it on. They had it on ref cam, and we were asked to decide whether or not that's a loose carry or a strip. And the room is completely divided.
Yeah.
Some say it's a strip. Some players say it's a loose carry. Those ones,
Subjective.
and very, and almost there isn't a right answer. It's almost 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. But on the bunker decisions that are sent up to be reviewed with all the video evidence, you almost can't accept the wrong decision. You can't accept it because you've got all the information available to you. You know, there's no hidden angle in some of these incidences. It's either one or the other. And
let's get interaction with the fans at home on the couch where you can press the red button or green button. Try, no try.
We're not going down that
how
road.
good, how good would it be? Wouldn't your fans be watching the game then? That's a try.
It's interesting though.
Just have a vote. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Send it back to the people sitting on the couch. But if you've gone over your 6-pack, you're out. Mate, your green and red button doesn't work.
See, Casey Badger.
Gordy, you asked for one person in the bunker, right? Obviously, plenty of us get fatigue. But how about we get 10 and then the 10 experts, they have a vote, and it's like, you know, is that a try or no try? Is that a sin bin or stay on the field? And then go with the majority, or have 11 in there, and if it's 6 and 5, we go with the 6. That maybe there's a solution. You get some smart people because and I've got obviously cost.
Hold on, there's your problem.
Issue.
What did you say? You get some what?
Smart people.
Yeah.
I do think that having one person, if that was their one job, like I understand they go up fatigue. I'm sorry. I mean, the average person who works an average 40, 50 hours a week, one job is all you do is you sit in there as the officiating person in the bunker for the whole year. I don't think that's an unreasonable task. Pay them what they want.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Sunday. That's it. And you cover the games, and you are the only person. Now, you can let everybody know who that is. I don't have any problem with that.
This is my point. So you got Graham Annesley, comes out every week and he does a press conference. Why isn't he in there?
Well, he's the head of football.
He's
so
not the head of
his
referees.
job.
Yeah.
But
He's
why
he's the
isn't
NRL's head of
someone with
football.
that much experience, that's been an administrator, that's worked at clubs, that has refereed the game at the highest level, why isn't he sitting there over the top? Because he comes and goes, well, this is it.
He's
so he
sitting
can
at
explain
home.
it to us.
He's sitting at home with his own red and green button. He's sitting at home and he's hoping that they get it right. It's human error,
But
unfortunately.
he's hoping,
I'm not
you just
saying
said, but
that
he's
I like
hoping
it.
he's getting it right. But if he's there, maybe they will get it right.
Well, this is why the bunker's bought in, to alleviate human error. But there was a couple of shockers this
But
weekend.
there's humans pushing the buttons.
Pressure.
It has been pressure, and it's going to continue, and rightly so. I don't think the Titans, they got away with one last night, and they also had a howler against them, so that squares them away. In the early game, the Dogs and the West Tigers, Casey Badger, that nearly went for 2 hours, that game, because the amount of time they had to go to the bunker and captain's challenges and all that kind of garbage that went on. And she lost the game in that sense. The players were challenging her, and we've seen it with other referees as well. When they lose control, it happens. And the Aiden Caesar one, rightly so. The Dogs were blowing up Deluxe about why, and the game at that stage was like, you know, the West Tigers had gone to a lead. The Dogs were coming back, rightly so. That should have been a sin bin, but then it sends it into. Like Bateman's challenging Badger, it got out of control completely, and it was all because of the decisions that were coming from the bunker that they weren't getting them right.
Well, Isaac Tango was sin-binned on the very same arena.
Yeah.
What, 36 hours prior to that?
Yeah, on the Thursday night.
And everybody accepts it.
Yeah.
You know, Benji Marshall in his press conference, if Aiden Caesar goes there and gets sent for 10, he accepts that decision.
Yep.
But Cameron Serraldo and the Bulldogs players, they don't accept that decision. And I think the overwhelming majority of the NRL community don't accept that decision.
There's going to have to be something happen. And we talk about shake-ups and, they have to look at this, because it's not only the fans. You brought up a really good point, Gordon. Very rarely do you speak a lot of sense, but the ownerships and their loss of earnings.
Every club would be in the same boat.
Yeah.
Right, you look at Penrith winning grand finals, how much merchandise they sell and that. So the W's are so important to your organisation, to your memberships, to basically your bottom line. Everybody loves a winner. You know that.
Yeah.
But people
The
care
Wars
as well.
last year went on a run at the Gorden Tallis Cup in the heartland of North Queensland. Every single kid was saying, go the Wars, up the Wars. So it does affect your bottom line.
But
and
for me, it's
some of the smaller clubs that aren't expected to win, they don't, and they never get the rub of the green.
Yeah, it's more than money. Like the passion that runs throughout sport, from the players, the fans, the people at home watching on TV, the commentators, people in the boardroom, the coaches. Like how much work? Like I said, how much work goes into that performance? How much sacrifice for people to go and save their money. Like, there's plenty of other entertainment options.
Yeah.
Mate,
Like,
if Jason
people care
Demetrio would
so
have won 4
much.
games, he'd have his job.
You can
If
set your,
Jason Demetrio had won 4 games, he probably would have
He
his job.
didn't have any howlers, though. He didn't have any howling decisions this year.
But he'd have his job. That's what I'm saying about winning and losing. Just if they scraped home and won a couple of games, it doesn't mean that they're going to go on and win grand finals. But that's how important it is to have W's.
James Graham, Gorden Tallis, James Hooper, Ben Dobbin with you. All right, boys, let's start talking about it. Roosters win over the Broncos. And you talk about Crichton's performance. Has he done enough to force his way back into that origin frame, James Hooper?
well, he's in the conversation. I can't recall him playing better over the course of the last 18 months. He's obviously had some challenges off the field, but he's playing like a bloke who is off contract and has unfinished business in the game and wants to prove a lot of people wrong. He's got a really good rapport with Michael Maguire. He had him at South Sydney and debuted him as a kid there. So I think he's a good chance.
You can't possibly ignore his form. He's playing so well. That's up against the Brisbane Broncos as well. He was on another level. And he's been playing so well this year. Let's not forget the man started in reserve grade this year. Then he fought his way onto the bench. Like, that's how you deal with adversity, by packing your attitude, like Gorden always speaks about, not dropping your bottom lip. Oh, I've been dropped. Like Siwal Wong put him under all sorts of pressure. Roosters have got plenty of healthy stocks there in their back row. Crichton went down to reserve grade and fought his way back. I think that is the biggest compliment you can pay to him. But then, yeah, and that's including the great form that he's showing each and every week at NRL level. I love that attitude to him. So I think with Maguire and his edge forwards and his bench particularly, I think Angus Crichton, he's too good to ignore, and he deserves that shot, I think.
Big, athletic, strong. He had Jordan, Ricky, and Katoni Staggs, so he had some fair blokes up against him.
Terrorised Ricky.
Yeah.
He terrorised Ricky.
Yeah. Well, he made him look like a boy.
Yeah,
Ricky's a really good defender as well.
Yeah,
Good player. Good
he
player.
terrorised him.
Gordy,
The
I was going to
Broncos-
ask you, like, with the Broncos, did they try and play too pretty the other night, or?
Yeah, mate, you make a really good point. I thought they did with Payne, Haas, and Carrigan when they go the 1-2 punch, and we were singing that praise and didn't have too much on the end of it. But that's been their bread and butter. Go through the middle, set up the game. I thought they did try to go wide a bit too much and try to be too pretty. When Adam Reynolds went off, they scored a couple of tries. But when they go through the middle, like the Broncos that we all know and love, it's attacking the middle of the field. Right, it's going through the front door, but they try to go a bit too sideways. Reece Walsh, one of my favourite players, I thought he tried to score on every play. He got a bit impatient there, and they didn't have the go forward for him to play the style of footy that he wanted to play off. So it was a little bit immature from Brisbane at times.
They had their review yesterday, Brisbane, off the back of that, and the message.
What did you tell them to do, Dobbo?
I didn't tell him anything, but Kevy just said, it's not funny.
It's a little bit.
Talking to Kev about it, he was very much of the opinion that each player is not owning their role, and that they're
No
all
doubt.
trying, and that if they and now is going to be ever more crucial because Arthurs has gone for 8 weeks with a fractured jaw. Sure. So you think Oates will probably come into that wing spot, but then you've got now this Jock Madden situation. He comes in. The mail is that he won't be right. So
Is
do they
Sailor a
bring-
chance?
Yeah, I think Tristan Sailor will end up playing potentially 6, and then they'll shift
through
him to
7.
7 and go from there and see how that goes, which I like. There's got to be room for.
So you come up with that in the meeting?
No,
Yeah.
but it's more about owning your own role. And
Absolutely. Roll up
and-
your sleeves.
and-
Brisbane's greatest teams earned the right to play footy. So you go there, you beat them up early, you set yourself up, and you score your points late. They try to score their points early, and they try to win pretty.
Yeah.
Like they try to win by, pulling all their trick shots. You got to earn your right to throw a trick shot, and they do work every now and then. And you watch the Cowboys have got to a good start. That's false. You got to lay a platform like anything.
I agree. Raiders come back against Manly. Does this say more about where the Raiders are at the moment with this young side that Ricky's trying to build?
Bit of everything.
They tossed up some absolute garbage at home the week before, and then they go to Four Pines Stadium and put on a really gutsy performance. Or are we getting ahead of ourselves around Manly and where they are sitting.
Raiders were paying $5.50 for everybody out there.
Wow.
I told my brother it was the best bet of the weekend. He didn't believe me.
I know another bloke who backed them too. Yeah. One of my mates.
So it was the best bet of the weekend.
Yeah, well, I didn't back them. Anyway,
Didn't you?
what do we think? Where are we at? And Canberra, obviously, they're going to break your heart one week and obviously make you happy.
Manly don't play for 80 minutes, right? They haven't. Like, we watched them play Parramatta, and that's alarm bells for me. That was probably the best opening 20 minutes of any side I've watched. It was just so powerful, clinical, and then they just go to sleep. You can't. Rugby league goes for 80 minutes. It's not over till, Dobbo sings type of thing. But the sad part is with Manly not playing 80 minutes and the Raiders being that gritty side and what they tossed up last week for Ricky's 500th game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're coming out here. I'm thinking, and then I remember when I was a kid and I remember going and sitting on the hill and I watched Manly have a great ding-dong battle with the Raiders. I'm reckon, mate, Ricky's up. Like, I don't know, I just had a feeling. Like, you can't toss that performance up for a coach like that has worn his heart on his sleeve and has stuck up for you in press conference when you played good or bad, and he's always been a player-driven coach. That I knew that they were going to turn up, and they did, and they were gritty. Like, the Raiders are a side that are going to fight over a bone with not too much meat on it, and that's what they did.
You're spot on, Gordy, in relation to very rarely do you see a Ricky Stewart team put in a substandard performance like they did the week earlier when it was a huge milestone match for him. Very rarely the week after that do you see an equally poor performance. And as much as Manly were out of a cannon early and looked great for the opening half, then they went to sleep. And congratulations to the Raiders. I thought it was a really stoic, gritty, tough victory. Now, Dobbo, there is a little bit of breaking news, and that is that the West Tigers halfback Aidan Caesar is facing a 4-week suspension with an early guilty plea for a dangerous contact grade 3 charge.
So that means how he didn't go to the bin. How he didn't go to the bin. Yeah, and he's going to get 4 weeks for it. Rightly so. It's interesting. Sam Hughes, contrary conduct. He's only been fined early plea $3,000
for what?
For allegedly touching Casey Badger when he went across. That was what that was for. And obviously
touching a referee, like bumping
into the contact with the referee. So that's
happened for 100 years.
Yeah.
You know whose fault that is? Jerome Hughes and the Melbourne Storm. They should have fought it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They should have fought it, but they didn't.
That was a softer.
You knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
They should have fought it, man.
Yeah, because sometimes because they want to get as close as they can to the action, it's not their fault, and the players go and they just get caught sometimes in one of those positions, right, where they just bump into each other.
The bunker not ruling a sin bin on that hip drop, and then Aidan Caesar getting 4 weeks. That alone is enough for controversy. Quickly, are the Dogs top 8 contenders? Can the Bulldogs, off the performances that we've seen so far and the cluster of teams that can beat each other on any given week, can the Dogs honestly be called a top 8 contender?
Well, they're in the mix. They're in the conversation for sure. They've had a few good wins. They've shown some grit and some fight. I still think they're a couple of middle forwards light in terms of being a serious competition threat, but they can nip around making the 8, absolutely.
I think what they've done is they've adapted to their personnel that they've got.
Yeah.
So in terms of that, when you look at the squad on paper, you go, wow, that they are missing middle forwards. The game against the Knights a couple of weeks ago, Patolo goes off in the first couple of minutes. Their bench was, I think, Blake Taff,
Moran,
Hayward, and Moran. Sam Hughes came on. You look at that bench and you think, well, how on earth are the Bulldogs going to compete in this game? Like, they're just going to leave what's out there. None of those can come in and do a job in the middle. But they just have a style and a system where they just work for one another. They know who they are. They know what they're about. They don't have the Fanua Blakes or the Payne Houses or the Fisher Harrises of the world. They've got what they've got and they make it work. So they work incredibly well as a team together. They're systematic with their approach to the game. Look, players like Kurt Mann come in and do a great job in and around the middle. Moran off the bench, he's sensational to watch. He's such a goer. He's the Max Plath of the Bulldogs. He is absolutely everywhere. Not the biggest guy, but he's got the biggest heart and the biggest amount of ticker. So I think, and with the Bulldogs, if that was their only trait, you go, nah, but they've got points in them now with that left edge.
Yeah.
They really do have points, and with Crichton on the other side, and when Preston get some more game time under his belt, we'll see that come to a bit more fruition. But that left edge is looking lethal, and with the way they work for each other, they're every chance.
Well, it's an example of good coaching, isn't it, Gordy? You got to give Cameron Ciraldo a rap there in that he's getting the best, and he's designed a blueprint that suits his roster.
They've improved from round one.
Yep.
If they keep on improving the way they've improved, right, they are a chance. If they stay where they're at now, I don't think that they can be a top 8 side. But if they keep on improving and have Kickow, who's probably the best, he's the best back rower in the game, and if Crichton starts to get his mojo and they come up with these little plays and they start to get it like the big players, all those little fringe players will go with them. But they just got to keep on moving and keep on improving. And as Reid Marnie is,
mate, seriously.
Is he the new pest? Is that just come with
pest.
the Bulldogs number 9s? Like Mick Innes, is that just is that just you automatically come a pest?
I think when you play with them, you love them.
That number 9?
Yeah, when you play with them, you love them. When you play against them, you just...
I actually like him as a bloke. He's a fantastic guy. He's a tremendous little fella. But
you know what?
I think I would have hit him on the chin if I played him.
You just want to chin him, don't you? You do. You see,
you do. You know,
when
that's what he knows.
Hetherington squares up. He should have done the rest of the NRL a favour and just jabbed him. He's the fall guy. He gets 8 weeks out for chinning him in the tunnel, but then he stops the week after at least. But
and then everybody he starts a GoFundMe. Let's start a GoFundMe page. Hey, listen, guys, I'll take the 8 weeks. Just give me a GoFundMe so I can go to the weekend
one of those teams
do another dance.
Maybe when they play Souths again, their season's done. Just someone chin him. Just put an end to it. But
did we just say that?
The Bulldogs, they will need to continue to improve. I think what I like about them, the performance yesterday, I go back to a couple of weeks ago against the Melbourne Storm and their ability to fight and compete. Down at Amy Park, Melbourne, a great home team. They were so close to getting the victory that day. So there's lots to like about this Bulldogs team, but it's a long season. I don't know what their impact around Origin will be. Maybe the Fox, they probably won't be
Burton would have to be in the conversation.
Stephen Crichton.
Crichton. So
Crichton.
See how they manage that. But in terms of what they bring
so
to
you're
it,
not picking Tommy and Latrell.
Gordon.
I'm Gordon. Don't go down that road. Can I just quickly?
I'm just asking a question.
Bronson Cherry's been bloody good for him as well. I got to say,
absolutely.
for a guy that's been out of the game to come back,
he got last week.
and look. Anyway,
by the way, the play. I know that Tigers fans will be disappointed. The play from Justin Olam just before half time to stop Cherry scoring. That's a huge sign that the Tigers are. To put your Tigers hat on, that was a massive play. That was brilliant. I don't think we see that level of effort from the Tigers in yesteryear. We don't see them fight to stop those breakaway tries.
So let's get back to talking about South Sydney and James Hooper. Obviously, it was a big week. So the big test for it is Ben Hornby takes over, and what should we expect from South Sydney with these injuries, and what's going to happen?
Oh, the injuries are shocking, Dobbo. You couldn't make up how bad they are. Cameron Murray, in my opinion, is their best player. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks with a hip flexor. Then you got Jai Gray, the young gun fullback, who was just starting to really find his feet. He's a syndesmosis injury, 6 to 8 weeks. The backup halfback who's come in and replaced Lachlan Elliott since he's been dropped and then injured, Dean Hawkins, is also out for 6 weeks with a quad strain. So you can't make up how bad it is for the Bunnies at the moment. Look, they might have to make a big decision around Jack White, and I know they signed him to play left centre, but he's obviously won a Dally M medal playing 5'8". They might have to make a big call and go with Cody and Jack White in the halves.
Well, you know what, Hoops, just on that, I was having a bit of a think before about Jack White, and he's been South Sydney's best.
Yep.
No
Him
doubt,
and Cam Murray.
No doubt about that, and I just think, considering the situation, this is a little bit left field, but when at the start of the season there had been talk of him playing on an edge, I would move him into the middle to clean things up.
As lock.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Murray being out, I think considering where Souths are at the moment, they need someone with a little bit of ticker, with a bit of voice, with a bit of passion in the middle of the field. I know it seems extreme, but I think he would take to it. He's when you describe Jack White, what's the first thing you say? He's a footballer.
He's adaptable.
He's
He
a
can play
footballer.
anywhere.
He wants to win. Put him in the middle of the field and help him, because that's where Souths are really vulnerable, in my opinion, at the moment, especially with Murray going. Arrow's shoulder, we saw him over in the corner. I think everybody was holding their breath. Whether or not he'll be able to continue, they are down on troops in the middle. That's where the game starts. They've got this next month of football. We're going to get a real look at where they're at. I know things are bad at the moment with South Sydney. It has the potential to get worse. The Dragons, the Cowboys, the Eels, and the Titans are the next 4 up. I think Jack White needs to move to the middle of the field and be the heartbeat of that team, and hopefully for them.
Would that burn him up defensively?
Well, it doesn't matter, Gordon. It's not about attack for South Sydney. They've got people that can get points still. They've got Walker. They've got Latrell. Like, they can get points. They need someone to just get in there and get this team by the scruff of the neck and show some pride. And Jack Whiten is that man, in my opinion.
When's Campbell Graham back? What's the story with him? So
it was mid-season, wasn't it?
Yeah, they misdiagnosed it. That was the problem. So they tried to just rehab it, and then he ended up having to have surgery on the sternum. So I don't think he's back till it's still another couple of months.
So can Wayne, we talked earlier, Wayne Bennett looks set to be announced at some stage this week, and then they can move on and everybody can put it to bed and he'll get through with the Dolphins and then go there. Can Wayne Bennett make a difference to that roster? Because I did speak to Wayne and I said, oh, look, you've got a great roster. And I said, potentially what happens next year? Do you shift Jack to 5'8" and Cody to 7, because obviously they got this Lewis Dodd coming, and Wayne Bennett said to me that, and he said this publicly, Jack Whiten's not a 5'8". He just said that straight away. So he's very clear to that. So clearly the halfback issue is the big issue.
If you got that young kid playing fullback, you had Jack on one side and you had Latrell on the other, that's potentially an unbelievable attacking threat. But Jack needs, and that's what Jimmy Graham, when they say Jack Whiten to me, and when he played Origin, when he's got the ball in his hands, he's the most dangerous. Right? He's such a big body. He's such a great ball carrier. But to have someone, and he's right, just to grab the team by the scruff of the neck and they follow you. Like people always say, mate, what's a leader? And I reckon it's the hardest thing, but the only thing that I know in life is a leader is someone that people will follow. That's just it. So will South Sydney follow him? That's all you need. Is someone that goes in there when he takes a hit up, and as what James said before about Max Plath, they embarrass you to take the next carry, to run hard, to do all those little things. That's what South Sydney needs. South Sydney need a player like that. It has been Cam Murray, but for some reason, they've let him down.
Well, he's been the heart and soul of that side for the last 2.5 years.
In round 2, it looked like he played 22 rounds.
Yeah, I felt for him.
No, but like he does. That's how hard. And you see him in the press conference. He sits there and like it's like he's not there. Like that's a guy that I think he needs some help. They need a Max Plath. They need someone that embarrasses you. Yeah. South Sydney don't have it. Like he's great, but do you know what it's called? It's called a forward pack because you hunt as a pack and you hunt as one, and there's 6 of you and you go, and when one goes, you got to feed off each other. It's a pack mentality, and then they don't have that. And then when they played the other night, I was interested. I'm thinking, they're a chance here, right? It's emotional. Their coach, all of a sudden, it's pointed back on the South Sydney players. It was an emotional performance, and they run out of petrol. So emotionally, they got up, and then when it got tough and they had to defend and they come back on how much you got inside you and how hard you've worked in the preseason, they failed.
The Taruva try was the big telling factor for me when Dylan Edwards came back from that kick and he
runs past
them.
And there's blokes. It was a try from May.
May. Sorry, you're right, May.
So tell me this. So he run past 10 South players? You would think.
That's
roughly.
That's not
to beat them there. What?
That is not a good sign.
How many South players got back to the 30-metre line to defend? 3? 4?
Maybe.
So 9.
So the Jai Arrow chase. He was the only bloke that chased, and it was Jai Arrow chased the whole way. To be fair, but that to me said you've got to look at it. Can Wayne Bennett
that
turn
play
this
there,
side around?
Dobbo, was symptomatic of South's entire season. That was a reflection of where they're at the moment. It's an apt summation.
Well, if Jason Demetriou is still in charge, he's getting grilled about that situation.
Absolutely.
And that is something where you go, well, you're not playing for your coach. They're not fit enough, whatever it may be. But obviously he's gone. And Hornby spoke after the game about he was proud of the efforts, especially to begin with. But that particular play was...
Tell you what, it's a hell of a first up assignment for Ben Hornby. He's a good bloke, and I think he'll be a good coach. Or I think he is a good coach. But like there's never a right time or a good time to part ways with a coach, right? But to sack Jason Demetriou and then Ben's first up assignment is Penrith, that's a damn hard mountain to climb.
And he gets the job on the day
They're not going to turn it around with that roster.
No,
they've got to bring some other players.
You're right, Gordy, and you've been saying it for the majority of this year now. You don't think their forward pack has beaten up on anybody in a while, and clearly it's now becoming glaringly evident that they need middle forwards. And Wayne, I'm sure that Wayne will be able to address that.
Well, unless they change the kickoff rule, they might be in the game. And you can't tackle hard anymore because, like Big Dobbo said, so that
I know. Don't call me Big Dobbo.
Well, what do you want me to call you?
Ooh, little Dobbo.
It's an ironic nickname. Just on that, South Sydney's quest for some forwards. I know they've gone to England, and there's a lot of teams in England that are really upset at the way South Sydney have conducted their business. They've not asked permission to speak to some players. Because
So they're just coming just to raid their club?
They're approaching players that are under contract.
Right.
And
so they've just aggressively gone into the market,
and obviously
tapping blokes.
But doesn't that happen everywhere?
Oh, drop off, James. They've been doing that. That happens in the NRL every single week. Clubs are conducting themselves like that all the time. I mean,
so it makes it right. So
hang on.
Did the Brisbane
you've never
Broncos,
whinged about it before. You're only doing it because
it
because you're English.
No. Did the Brisbane Broncos not report the Dolphins to the NRL?
Yeah, but that's an inner club, inner city. That's an inner city.
So you think the Super League should be treated like second-class citizens then? Is that what you're saying?
No, but I don't have a problem with South Sydney going in there and being aggressive looking for players. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I'm just telling you that the English clubs are pissed off that South think they can come in and just say, hey, mate, I'll turn your head. Do you want to come over? Well, they've said no because they're under contract and they're not going to be walked over.
No,
I like that. That's actually true because I was sort of leaning towards you because it does happen. But he's right. There's a right and wrong way of doing it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this happens the way that South Sydney have
you get
conducted
reported
themselves.
Here.
Well, it doesn't get reported often. That the reason it got reported in that Brisbane Dolphins thing is because there was text messages to managers and that the NRL and the Broncos were clearly upset with the Dolphins because of the new club in town. But
so your mates at the Broncos, they're okay to be upset, but my mates at St Helens aren't?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about your mates at St Helens. I don't even think you have any mates.
So
but anyway, I'm not questioning about that.
So, you're not global.
No,
so you're not known across
I'm just
the rugby
saying,
league world.
James, it's all right for you to get upset about it happening in England. It happens here in Sydney and in Brisbane all the time.
He's not global and he's not funny either, Gordy. In relation to it, right? In relation to it, the Bunnies.
There's no need for that.
They have aggressively gone into. They have aggressively gone in the market and they're trying to land players. But if they are tapping blokes who are contracted long term at their existing clubs, then they are bending the rules a bit. And you can go back to Zach Lomax if you want to relate it closer to home, Dobbo. You can go back to when Parramatta initially started hovering around Zach Lomax. The Dragons blew up and put in a complaint straight away to the NRL because he was under contract and they hadn't given him permission to negotiate yet. So it does happen here as well.
I just think on Bennett coming in, South Sydney at the moment, that they're screaming for a dictator. That they need somebody to come in and say, I'm steering this ship, I'm in control, come with me. I think at board level, it's clear they're a divided, fractured board, and there's plenty of politics happening on. Wayne, he doesn't accept that. He puts the board and everybody to one side. Don't call us, we'll call you style. I think with the players that they've got, they're underperforming at the moment. And I think when a guy like Bennett comes in, you respect his authority, you respect his voice, sometimes, so say for example, if Bennett's there, that he's the right messenger. You respect that voice as opposed to somebody with less power in their voice. It doesn't have the same level of feeling or meaning. I think when Bennett says something, I've been coached by him. Gordy, you've been coached by him. With him in England, whatever his message was, Whether you agree with you agreed with it because it's him, or you acted on that because it's him. Where if that was a different coach, and if you've got your doubt, you go, I'm probably not going to buy into this just as much. But that messenger in Wayne Bennett, that goes far.
Yeah, I tell you what Wayne and Craig Bellamy have over all the others. If Craig Bellamy says to you as a player, say something, you can't go to your manager and get out. And they can't go, Craig Bellamy's doing this, and all the media start writing, this is what's happening at the club. It doesn't happen. If that player talks about Wayne Bennett, he's gone.
Yeah.
So they don't say anything. They just pick up their bottom lip and become men and play footy. That's the deal. So whenever he delivers a message, you can't go, I didn't like that. I'm going to go get my manager to get me out of this club on compassionate leave. You can't do that. You got to stay there and fight your way back in, right? And that's his power.
Yeah.
He's going to have some. He has got a lot of repair work to be done though, because it's not just the playing roster, Gordy. It's also like Russell Crowe and some of the owners aren't seeing eye to eye, and Crowe doesn't speak to Nick Pappas, and I don't think there's a lot of communication with the CEO Blake Solly, and so they're at war.
But Wayne
at the
won't
top
talk to
level.
him either.
No, he'll just deal with Russell.
That's right. So, then he'll run the footy club and he'll tell those guys, and we used to call them blue coats when we were at the Dragons, those guys that sit in there and have their prawn toast and their wine, you look after the corporates, I'll look after the footy side. And that's his business. Right? And that's what those great coaches do.
Yeah.
There's no outer influence coming in and having a say and listening to every player. Wayne always said to me, losers hang around in small groups and bitch. Winners have parties, right? So all that getting around in a tight group and talking to that guy, that don't happen.